Moving on to our next honoree, Mr. Anthony Seeley, and his biography will be read by Mrs. Tamisha Cole.
A quote by Fred Rogers says, "Often when you think you are at the big end of something, you are at the beginning of something else." Colleagues and friends, we recognize and honor Mr. Seeley for his stellar contribution of over 40 years to the teaching profession, 16 of which were spent with us at the Alleyne School. Mr. Anthony Seeley began his teaching career in 1977 at the Commonwealth School, where he taught geography. He continued at the Pine Primary School and later at the Society Composite School, formerly known as the Society Mixed School. He returned to teaching at the secondary level in 1985, becoming a member of the teaching staff at the St. George Secondary School, followed by the Coleridge and Paris School. In 1987, Mrs. Seeley moved on to the Layne Secondary School as a teacher of science, and he would later act as head of the science department on 4 occasions. He remained there until the decision was made in 2006 to permanently close the school due to environmental issues. Mrs. Seeley joined the Alleyne School teaching staff in 2007. Throughout his time here, he has taught agricultural science, biology, chemistry, and human and social biology. However, all of us remember Mr. Seeley predominantly as a teacher of agricultural science and chemistry. In 2009, he acted as head of the science department and was permanently appointed to the position in 2016. He performed his duties as science teacher and head of department in a self-assured, confident manner. He set clear goals for all members of the department, and he gave us professional freedom to achieve those goals with the knowledge that he was always available to assist if necessary. Several physical improvements were made to the science department under his leadership to the immediate benefit of the science students, the majority of whom achieved passing grades at the CSET level. He was aptly, and he can be aptly described by his colleagues as a quiet gentleman who is not easily ruffled or distressed. His students all remember him as knowledgeable, firm, but an easygoing teacher. In addition to being an outstanding colleague and teacher, he has varied interests and passions. And while he was at the Layne Secondary School, he also taught photography, developing film in the school's dark room as a lunchtime activity. He combined his love of photography with his love of hiking, organizing hikes for students at least twice each term. It should come as no surprise that this teacher of agricultural science has a keen interest in gardening. This, however, was not just a personal hobby for Mr. Seeley, as he became a member and treasurer of the Southeastern Farmers Cooperative Society Limited, which offered him an opportunity to meet with like-minded individuals. He also enjoys shooting sports and became a member of the Barbados Rifle and Pistol Federation in 2009. That's why he's always so quiet. He knows how to use a gun. He has indicated that he intends to dedicate more time to this hobby during his retirement. It should also be noted that Mr. Seeley pursued his teaching career at various schools, and while he became an active member of several clubs, he was and currently is a bona fide martial artist. Again, that explains his quiet attitude. He began practicing karate in 1976, and after 2 years of discipline, hard work, and perseverance, he achieved a major milestone, earning a black belt in the Japanese martial art. Mr. Seeley has a love of traveling, and as he continues his retirement, he will now have more time to dedicate to this pursuit. Eventually, every great teacher will retire, but their actions and teachings live on in the hearts and minds of their students. Mr. Seeley, we extend warm wishes to you on this, your next phase of life. You can now do nothing and not worry about getting caught. Mr. Seeley, we want to say a happy retirement and thank you. You will be greatly missed at the Alleyne School.
I invite Mrs. Pollard to read a poem dedicated to Mr. Seeley, followed by Mr. Waterman, who will present his token.
I am by no means the poet this evening. These poems were written, as you would recognize from the first one, by Miss Stout, and each of the persons present that we are highlighting this evening, which is Mr. Seeley, Mr. Phillips, and Mrs. Layne-Springer. The business department did not get an opportunity to present them with anything during what we would have liked the last time. So we're adding a poem along with other things a little later. So this one says, "Oh, Mr. Seeley." It's Miss Stout. It says, "Modest and reserved, yet full of energy, stands Mr. Seeley, a spectator of life's scenery. Even in his quiet moments, his actions were powerful, offering guidance and words of wisdom that were logical. A helping hand and friend indeed, he always looked out for those in need. A lover of nature and the outside world, it made him happy as he was always not frazzled. So now he officially gets to do what he loves full time. For all we know, he might be doing it to make an extra dime. Mr. Seeley, like many others, you have left a lasting impression. So as you journey through your retirement, take this chapter as one of life's treasured possessions." From Miss Stout.
Mr. Seeley?
Wow, so many memories. Came Board of Management, staff, and especially invited guests. I'm grateful for this privilege to give these two tokens of our appreciation to Mr. Seeley. Mr. Seeley, I first met him in 2010 when I first had my first stint at the Alleyne School, and Mr. Seeley is a gentleman I greatly respect. We have been very good friends since then, and I just want to thank you for the indelible impression you would have made on my life. All those lunch times we chat, you know, one of the special corners in the staff room. Okay, with Mr. Seeley. But every corner in the staff room is special. But one of the special corners. So I just want to give you these tokens on behalf of us.
Good night, everyone. Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Scott, Reverend Scott, Principal, Deputy Principal, Williams. My former principal, Ms. thought you were going to say something. I think I missed the Board of Management. As you retire, you tend to forget a lot of things. I recognize too a deputy principal from Foundation of this. Yes, when Greenidge closed down, it is said that our neighbors recognized that Greenidge was a very good school, full of honey. So they thought that bees were there, so they smoked us out. Anyway, when the village closed down, they sent me I was home for about a month or two, relaxing. Then I got a call to go to St. Lucie. And I took the journey to St. Lucie, and I measured the distance. I recognized that I'd be losing another $300 or so. I was contemplating, maybe this is not good for me, and I don't think I could drive that distance every day. Maybe I should resign and get a truck and do some freighting or something. I was seriously deciding to do that. Then, when I got to St. Lucie, the principal said, well, there's no room down here for you. They don't need anybody here. So I went home again for another couple of weeks. Then I got a call to go to Alleyne for the job agricultural science teacher. He said, okay. So I measured my distance again, and I recognized that I would not be losing anything much in terms of gas, the diesel. So I said that would be a good pick for me. And, what I lost though was the other activity, where along that road there were no supermarkets or anything in that area. So whereas I was at Greenidge and I'm going on the road on mornings, I was dropping off packages at different supermarkets, you know. So I lost that. I would leave home, let's say, really early, because I always believe that I would get to work on time and I leave on time. Make sure I do all the work while I'm at work. Okay? I have used up all my lunch hours at Greenidge doing photography. Before I could get to the classroom, children will be meeting me, taking my bag to the classroom and taking me straight to the photography room to do work with them. Anyhow, so that was it at Greenidge. I came to Alleyne. I think I had a wonderful time at Alleyne. The staff there were very appreciative of me, I think. I got on well with everybody. When I go to a job, my job description technically is to get the job done. I don't worry about the statutory requirements and those type of things. If I have to go the extra mile to do something, I will get the job done, or try to get the job done, and hope that I met all the requirements of getting the job done at the Alleyne school. I try not to let anybody disturb my peace. So what I would do when I am at home and I relax and I cogitate, I would look and see what happened the day before and things like that, and try to see how best I can deal with that situation that had happened previously without, let's say, disturbing other people as well. So most of the time I'll be thinking over those things when I'm at home. And I'm not going to keep up much more of your time. I just want to leave these words with you. As you would probably know, all during my life, I tend to think of myself as a fighter. My grandmother was, as people would say, a national stick licker, and she used to beat a lot of men and things like that. So that was my first thing. I would be sword liquor, as we would call it then, because there was Zor and those things there. And I go home, many cuts out of my face and things. My mother would be cruel, and then when you go home with a cut for foolishness, you get lashes too. And then it was boxing. When with Muhammad Ali around, he was my idol, and I was into boxing and things too. So you go home with eyes bruised. When I got my jaw, as people say a lot, I couldn't tell my mother a thing. I just go home. I couldn't eat for weeks. And then I started karate when I went to community college. And karate was during the week, but on Saturdays we would go down there from, let's say, 1 o'clock, and we fight until late in the evening, 5 and 6 o'clock. And every Saturday I would go home limping, you know. My mother then would throw the Epsom salts and the hot water and all that. Then afterwards she said, I finished with that. When you come home, you have to do it yourself, I ain't down with you and that. So then I had to be very careful as how I went about fighting. So I tried to develop a really fast kick that it couldn't really touch me, you know. Anyhow, like I said, Muhammad Ali is one of my idols, and I think to the teachers at the Alleyne school, I'd like to leave these words that I think he would have said. I don't know if he got it, if it's his version of it, or he got it from someone, but I got it from him. Don't count the days, make the days come. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seeley. At this time, we wish to open the floor to guests to make tributes or comments to the retirees, but I'll go first. Take this opportunity to let Miss Beckles know, because she wasn't there after Mr. Headley retired, but the back room is now really, really quiet. I open up to anyone who would like to make any comments or tributes to the retired.
You see this morning, Mr. Headley tell me to go back and sit down. You know, I came and I really enjoyed seeing, with due respect to everybody else, I really enjoyed seeing Miss Trotman. That was my next door neighbor. And we quarrel all the time. So I gotta start a little quarrel tonight before I leave, you know. Put things in place. But I really enjoyed the presence of being here tonight. It's a wonderful thing. It really hurt me a bit when I was told about the late Glenroy Calman, you know, because he was also the next door neighbor. And for the retirees, I'm familiar with 5. I can't recall the 6th one. Nevertheless, I'm also amongst the troop, you know, and we have our general there, Mr. Troy Phillips. We are all part of the technical team over the years, but I really enjoyed Mr. Headley and all the cap, you know. I can recall many times he would go running all down through the bay, across the sand, up the East Coast, and back down and speed. You know, those are moments that I enjoyed. So it's a wonderful privilege of mine to be part of this occasion, to see the great celebrities that has joined us, and I'm certain that we will continue to enjoy our retirement. Have a great time, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Next, I'm going to invite Mrs. Maxine Innes to read the biography of Mrs. Stacia Austin.
Good night, everyone. Mrs. Stacia Austin joined the teaching service as a young teacher of geography at the Springer Memorial School in September 1988. In that same month, she not only shifted from being a banker to a teacher, but she also changed her Miss to Mrs. However, her tenure at Springer was short-lived when she was offered an assignment at the St. Michael's School in November of that same year. This was an opportunity that she couldn't miss because it gave her a chance to teach what was her first love, art. She therefore joined the staff as an art teacher in what was slated to be a posting for 6 weeks, but later became an appointment for some 27 years. During this time, Mrs. Austin, in addition to her teaching duties, enjoyed performing several leadership roles within the school. She was a successful house leader, also acted as head of department and as a year head on numerous occasions until she was appointed to the latter. Mrs. Stacia Austin was promoted to deputy principal in September 2015 and was moved to the Lodge School where she spent 5 years. She was subsequently promoted to act as a principal from January 2021 until she tendered her retirement 3 years later. Mrs. Austin holds a Bachelor of Science in Management, a Diploma in Education, and a Master's in Educational Leadership from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill. She's also a trained counselor, a skilled and trained gardener, and a lover of the outdoors. She's the mother of 2 children and the adopted mother of many others. In her words, teaching has been good to me. I have had the opportunity to interact with some wonderful young people. I couldn't ask for anything more. I will be eternally grateful to this wonderful experience that I have had. I have been able to impact lives in ways that would not be had I not been a teacher. Mrs. Stacia Austin ended her teaching career at Alleyne School, a place where she will be eternally grateful for the opportunity to have been their acting principal. This has been her shortest stint, yet it has been the most refreshing. In the heart of St. Andrew, she has found a school, a family with a culture of Alice non-CB at its heart, wholesome and sublime, who daily by your lives you have made it all worthwhile. Mrs. Stacia Austin.
I now invite Mr. Lamar forward to present Mrs. Austin with her token. Mrs. Austin?
Good evening, everyone. Mrs. Austin. I remember when I first saw you walk into the staff room, I said, this lady look real serious, boy. But after getting to know you, ma'am, I realized that you are a very fun person to interact with and to be around. So much fun that you got me to do something that my staff, my staff, probably I'm putting something out into the my colleagues were asking me to do for a very long time, and that was to sing a song. I don't know how many of you were there, and if you can remember, but I almost put some lips in Mrs. Batson and won that little competition. So, Mom, on behalf of the Board of Management and the staff at Alleyne School and the Human Ecology Department, I would like to present you with this small token of our appreciation for your, although it was a short time, it was very impactful, Mom, and I really enjoyed interacting with you.
We'll have Mrs. Austin's response now. Thank you.
She said to me, he's married, he's married, he's married, he's married. And I will say to you, I'm well aware. I've never been a cradle robber. I don't intend to start now. I would say to you, he is now one of my adopted sons, and I have many. Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to be formal, so I'm not going to say masses of ceremonies and run the list. I feel truly a part of this Alleyne family. So when you're home, you're home. And when you're home, you can talk. Correct? Correct. I joined this staff, and I probably now will hold the record for being your shortest principal. Not in physique, but certainly in tender. But I would say to you that it has been a very enjoyable phase of my life. And before I say anything further, I want to ask you to give yourselves a round of applause. The one that you believe you deserve, because when I mash up the people thing, I've truly enjoyed myself. And they say that when Jesus went to that wedding, that he saved and he kept the best wine for the last. I'm not a preacher, there are several in the room, right, Reverend Scott? But I'm going to say to you that in my tenure, my best wine, my best experience was indeed saved for the last. I thoroughly enjoyed myself at the Alleyne School. Yet I got a good thing down there, people. Please take good care of it. So I'm going to speak really and truly to my colleagues. Once a teacher, always a teacher. My children used to usually say to me when we go, "Mommy, let me go to the lawn now." Turn it off. I can't turn it off. You see wrong? We gotta address it because we impact these young people for the better. And if we ignore it, no one will deal with it because the rest of society is frightened for them. But we're not. You know why? We teach. So, I'm going to challenge you as members of the Alleyne teaching staff, whether current, whether past, whether to come, whatever, to do not drop your mantle. I have found in St. Andrew an Essence. Where are the home ec people? I saw them back there. Tell me what you do with Essence. Thank you. And it comes in several different flavors. Am I right, ma'am? I'm going to say to you, do not lose what you are. You are the essence of that school. You bring that to what is done there. You bring your uniqueness to the table. Do not lose it. You really deserve a new plant. I've been saying that from day one. But you have not allowed that to stop you. You have set yourself a target and you fight for it. And I am indeed honored to have been a part of this. So I would say to you, continue to lift that mantle, to keep that mantle ever high, knowing that at the end of it all, you will be victorious, because you are indeed in the best place possible, nestled in the heart of St. Andrew. You know, they say, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Reverend? Nazareth? So we're going to say something good is coming out of St. Andrew. And it is what you do as the essence of the Alleyne School. So do not lose that essence. You lose that essence and we will lose a generation. You are important. You play a significant role. And I want to say from my heart, my stomach is full, my heart is full, because I've indeed, and I ain't crying today, because I have indeed been blessed. What was meant for punishment turned out to be a blessing. And I thank you. I sincerely thank you. Never, never doubt that what you're doing is making a difference. Never doubt it. And if you doubt it, call me. I'll remind you. So thank you so very much. And without further ado, he ain't playing anything for me today. He ain't singing for me today. He ain't doing nothing for me today. However, I would like to invite my ITC, my former ITC, because I'm not there anymore. Reverend Scott, I'm going to ask you to allow me to break protocol. He ain't blowing nothing for me today. I was hoping for a little saxophone. He ain't give me nothing. I get a flute, it's true. Son, bring the box. This is my son, by the way. My very handsome son. His name is Joshua. Joshua, wave to my former colleagues, please. And you know your mother's embarrassed you. And sitting next to him is my lovely daughter-in-law to be. Please stand. Her name is Kristen. It will soon be Kristen Austin. So, Mr. Goodrich, you ain't playing that for me today. I ain't give him a little piece of saxophone.
I got to off already.
I ain't give him a little flute. I ain't give him nothing. He refused to sing.
I'm gonna come to your church one of these.
He can sing, but he refused to sing. But anyhow, I want to give back to all that would have been imparted into my life in a tangible way. And this is the beginning of what I hope will be others to come. So I want to bless Alleyne School with this small token from my heart. For all that you do, I pray that this will continue to make life a little easier for you in everything. I get the saxophone, I get the flute, but it's all right. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Austin. And now to our final honoree, Mrs. Karene Layne-Springer, and her biography will be read by Mrs. Jeanette Belgrave.
Good night, everyone. Willard Scott stated, "Librarians have always been among the most thoughtful and helpful people. They are teachers without a classroom." Tonight, I'm sharing about none other than Mrs. Karene Layne-Springer, who entered the hallowed halls of Alleyne School on January 3rd, 1984. Having resigned from the National Library Service in December of the previous year, it must be stated that though that neither the school hall nor the library was ready for occupancy at the time, she was ready to enter Alleyne School. Assembly was held where the two prefab buildings are presently situated opposite Lab 3, across from Farm 1E, and the library's books were housed at the back of the woodwork room. Mr. Ashby Jordan, the then principal, welcomed her to the school and introduced her to the staff and students at the first assembly in 1984. When the furniture for the library arrived, he informed her that Mr. Marshall would be the general worker assigned to the library. As both newbies to the school, they looked after each other ever since then. Deputy Principal Mr. George Beckles brought some very willing students to take the books to the library after shelving finally arrived. The library setup was a bit delayed as the fifth form prefects had to be housed, and those who were not in the sports hall sat at the back of her library, ready to offer any assistance needed. This was a time she referred to as her baptism. Upon her reflection, at the public library, she stated everyone was assigned a particular task, and every area had a person responsible. But here at the Alleyne School, everything was organized and well coordinated by herself, Mrs. Layne-Springer. She acknowledges that though she would have shed many tears some afternoons after feeling overwhelmed by the quantity of work, she was never left alone. She recounted that one student, Karene, her namesake, saw her tears and offered to help. She brought along Edla and about 8 other students, and they helped by taking the books out of the boxes and placing them on shelves that proved to be quite helpful and meaningful to her. Mr. Beckles found some very willing students as well, along with Karene, the same Edla, Avis, Cheryl, as she recalls, Doriel, Chernel, and Kathy. It is clear that Mrs. Layne-Springer had her troop to assist her. And these students were a part of the 1983 to 1984 cohort who were very dear to her heart. Some of those students were from Mrs. Noel Arthur's class, and they borrowed typewriters from the typewriting room and typed the book cards, the tickets, and the catalog cards to assist with the organization of the new library. Many evenings, they caught the very reliable 5 p.m. church bus, which at that time turned around at the entrance to the school. Mrs. Layne-Springer recalls that these were her first babies from Farm 183. After the 5th year, had then went on to examination leave. These were the first young ladies and gentlemen too with whom she bonded for her first 5 years at the Alleyne school, and some of them remain friends to this day and dear to her heart. Throughout the years, she has been acquainted with many students and has acted as, and we know this all too well as teachers, as a nurse, a big sister, and a confidant, where she always encouraged them to give of their best during their school life, always mindful that they should make the best use of opportunities, and that she did as well while she was with us at the Alleyne school. She came to the Alleyne school, as she indicated, as a quiet, unassuming, naive lady who had to supervise young adults who were, in some instances, only a year or two younger than she was. The majority of those children were cognizant of their relationship and respected the boundaries that she would have held in place, even though she was librarian. In between setting up the library and being asked to take charge of the new textbook loan scheme, she found time to study for a Bachelor of Arts degree. She completed library studies, obtained a Pitmas Level 3 certification in English, typewriting, and other computer courses offered both privately and by governmental organizations. She indicated that she has an avid love for needlework, pattern making for design, and more recently, she has started French. She has indicated that she has rekindled her interest in crochet and bag making. Mrs. Layne-Springer has worked under the leadership of 7 principals. Mr. Ashby Jordan was very pleased with the library and made sure to bring all his guests there. He was followed by Mr. George Beckles, Miss Muriel Hunt, Mr. Irwin Graves, Miss Cheryl Wade, Miss Julia Beckles, and now Mr. Stephen Scott, and several deputies. They all had differing styles of leadership, she recalls, but they all desired that Alleyne school students be disciplined and responsible. The numerous shades of green that can be seen on entering St. Andrew from either side has always been a sight she looked forward to every day. The view of the East Coast from the hill by St. Elizabeth's and Turner's Hall was a beauty she enjoyed seeing and will certainly miss. Ms. Layne-Springer, we want you to know that we will miss you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Layne-Springer.
Mr. Hammond Cadogan will present Mrs. Layne-Springer with her token. Mrs. Layne-Springer.
Good night. Yes. As I was coming to the mic, I was saying to myself, it's real quiet. It's like the library. Before that, I was saying to Ms. Tilts, I'm not sure what I'm going to say when I reach the microphone. So I tried to listen to Ms. Belgrave to see if I could pick one or two things from her speech. And Ms. Layne-Springer is, in my experience, a very quiet and soft-spoken person. In charge of the library, she wasn't a teacher, and I know in teaching we talk about classroom management and that kind of stuff. The library is always quiet. Students are well behaved, no matter how disruptive they are in the classroom. Once they're sent to the library, Ms. Layne-Springer, in her manner, calm, quiet manner, can get them to behave, or rather sit quietly and do what they're supposed to do: classroom management, library management. I never really visited the library too often because I'm not a reader. I would only go there if I have some pressing work to do and I want someplace quiet. So I would visit Miss Layne-Springer's domain, right? Yeah, so I want to thank her for that. I'm going to say thank you for the work you've done at Alleyne School, the teachers you would have helped, students you would have helped at Alleyne School. But I also want to thank you for taking care of my daughter during those Easter vacations when it would be at Alleyne School doing SBS with my students. My daughter would, I would say, would go to the library and Ms. Layne-Springer would take care of you. And so I think that I want to thank you on behalf of Alleyne School, teachers, students, on behalf of Ignatius Primary and Queen's College. Those are the two schools that my daughter went to. So thank you for your tenure. And I just want to say that there are some people who command respect before even having to raise their voice. I wish I was one of those persons, but I think that you are very much one of those persons who can, get people to fall in line before having to raise their voice, and I admire that. Thank you for all that you've done for Alleyne School, Mr. Catherine, by extension. Thank you.
Before Mrs. Layne-Springer gives her response, those who don't know that Ms. Stout couldn't be writing poems for everybody and not write one for Mrs. Layne-Springer. So I invite Mrs. Pollard to read Mrs. Layne-Springer's poem.
I agree. This one is called Layne ... It's Miss Stout again. And it reads, once upon a time, not too long ago, let me start again. These poems were written today. If you know Miss Stout, this is Miss Stout. The blood has to be pumping and flowing, and she gets it done on time. Yes. So let me start again. Layne ... Once upon a time, not too long ago, off to the Alleyne School's library Layne would go. Now embracing a new chapter and wearing a different crown, being able to take off her spectacles and let her locks down. A kind person with such a compassionate spirit, who adopted many along the way, even if there were a misfit. Layne was never too busy to lend a listening ear and used many tactics to make sure her points were always clear. No longer a slave to the bookshelves she'll be, as she now embraces retirement so beautifully. In the annals of time, she'll forever be treasured, for she's one of a kind whose depth of character is unmeasured. From Ms. Stout.
Mrs. Layne-Springer will give her response at this time.
Master of Ceremonies, the Board of Management, Principal, Deputy Principal, Principal Scott, Deputy Principal, Principal Williams, former Principal Juliet Beckles, colleagues, friends, visitors, and fellow retirees. Those who know me know very well I do not like standing up here at this time. Be somewhere else. But I must say thank you to the organizers of this event for including me. I also want to say that my time at Alleyne School, I have thoroughly enjoyed, except for those theories only. But even then, I had a good result because I did find some friends from that. So I still have some friends from that time. I want to say that Alleyne, like I said, like Ms. Barker said, I went as a young girl and I'm leaving a woman. After that, with 3 children and a husband. But I have grown a lot, still so shy, but I think some things can't be changed. But I want to thank Alleyne School for providing me with some loving memories, some very good memories, some very good people, also lifelong friends. And I wish Alleyne School all the best. I must say to all that I still am convinced that Alleyne has the best female uniform in Barbados, even though I went to foundation.
That concludes our honorees. At this time, I invite our Deputy Principal, Mrs. Harriet Williams, to give the thanks and closing remarks.
Master of Ceremonies, Principal, Reverend Scott, honorees, specially invited guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world. You might wonder why that particular chorus resonated with me, but it did. From the moment I was approached about giving these closing remarks, that immediately came to my mind, and I immediately saw the metaphorical connection between the words expressed there and what we were assembled for here this evening. We have assembled on this very special occasion to celebrate and acknowledge the contribution of some 6 former members of the Alleyne School family. These honorees have collectively over 200 years of teaching experience under their belts. Their dedication and commitment to their chosen field of employment is evident in the thousands of students whose lives they have impacted. These stalwarts took up the challenge to bring light to a dark world, the light of education. They each taught, counseled, consoled, comforted, and educated a number of our nation's children. Now, having served faithfully, it is time for the glorious period of retirement. Honorees, may your golden years be spent exactly as you envisioned. We wish you well as you continue to serve in whatever area you deemed suited for you. We express our profound gratitude to you for your service. Now, in addition to the honorees, there are a few other groups, organizations, and individuals to whom we must express our thanks. And thus, we extend heartfelt gratitude to the Board of Management of Alleyne School, the management and staff of Alleyne School, Mrs. Nicole Maskell and the management and staff of Hilton Resort, Barbados. We offer special thanks to Mrs. Deborah Bascom, Miss Kathy Barker, Mr. Godfrey Allicott, Mr. Adrian Odell, who rendered so beautifully for us in sound, and Miss Nala O'Neill. We also wish to single out at this time the members of the Alleyne School Social Committee for having put together this wonderful event for us here this evening. And I am sure that you would wish to acknowledge your gratitude to them by giving them a round of applause at this time. It is never the intent to omit anyone from the list of persons to whom we extend thanks. So, in the event that I might have inadvertently omitted anyone, I wish to give a general thank you to anyone and everyone who in any way made a contribution to this very successful evening. As we prepare now to close our ceremony and we will depart this place, I pray that you each and everyone have traveling mercies and that you arrive at your various destinations safely. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
So I now invite the 6 honorees to join us here for the cutting of the retirement cake. I now invite everyone to stand as we toast